The Neil Mellor Football Show is sponsored by the Red Balloon Toy Shop, selling classic toys for today's kids. Find us by West Kirby train station.
Yes, hello and welcome once again to the Neil Mellor Football Show. My name is Simon Ellis-Jones. This, as usual, is Mr. Neil Mellor, the former Liverpool FC striker. Now then, the FA Cup. We'll deal with that first before we go on to preview the big game on Tuesday, which is mainly why people are tuned in, I imagine. But FA Cup, both sides through. First question for you is, does performance matter?
No, not in any kind of cup tie. It's all about getting through to the next stage. That's the most important thing. And both tricky ties. You know, Liverpool going down to Bournemouth, an average Championship side who we saw last season with Liverpool going to Oldham. A few selection changes caused a few problems to be a little bit unstuck. Conditions played the part against Oldham last season for Liverpool, but I think conditions were okay down at Bournemouth, which would have suited Liverpool. It was a really strong side, and it was intent from Brendan Rodgers to say that this competition's serious. This is a real chance to win silverware for Liverpool in the FA Cup this season, and it was good to see him go so strong. And Bournemouth still causes problems, which you'd expect because they raised the game so much, but got through in the end, and that was the most important thing. A few nervy moments, but in the next round, in the fifth round, and you know, hoping for a good tie. Again with Everton away at Stevenage. You know, I know myself, the manager, he's a little bit different. So, you know, no doubt the Everton players would have had cold showers. You know, they'd have had all those sort of old school tricks, and it was terrible conditions down there. But, you know, Everton did a really professional performance in the end, and that's a good result in a tricky place. And they made a couple of changes as well to the side.
Yeah, and at this point we should mention Brian Oviedo and send our condolences to him and wish him all the best, because that was a real sickener, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I saw what happened, but I didn't want to see the actual leg, the position it was in. It was an accident. You know, there was no malice from the Stevenage player. In fact, it was Oviedo trying to get back to deny the Stevenage player a shot. Really unfortunate, because he's been a good squad player for Everton this season. He's played in a number of positions. He's Costa Rican. He would have been excited about the World Cup, playing against England. So I'm not sure how long his rehab will be. So hopefully he has a speedy recovery, because that's unfortunate for him. Yeah,
it's proper heartbreak for him, isn't it? And I would imagine the World Cup's 6 months away. It's going to be, I'm not going to say impossible, but very unlikely.
It's unlikely, but I've got no idea what Costa Rican squad's like, whether they're relying on big players like that, because they won't have too many in the Premier League, one of the best leagues in the world. So even a half fit Oviedo, I think Costa Rica will probably go with.
Yeah, yeah. A friend of mine who's Australian says there's quite a fat Costa Rican who plays in the Australian A-League, who's one of their main players. That may tell you the
Costa
level.
Rica.
Yeah, that may tell you the level of the Costa Rica squad. Now then, Roberto Martinez, interestingly, if he wins the FA Cup this season, he'll be the first man in FA Cup history to win the FA Cup managing 2 different teams in consecutive seasons. That'd be quite a nice little achievement for him, and would put David Moyes' nose firmly out of joint, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a long way to go, isn't there? But I mean, it was such a huge achievement last season for Wigan to win the FA Cup. The way they did, they weren't fancied all the way through the tournament, and you know, to beat Manchester City the way they did in the final, a late winning goal, it was fantastic, wasn't it? But they got relegated from it. But it's funny because people say, what would you prefer, to stay in the Premier League or win the FA Cup? And I think most fans would prefer to, and players, to win the FA Cup, because that is a lifelong memory. Whereas, you know, what you're going to say, oh, I remember finished 17th, 16th in the Premier League. No, you remember winning the cup tie. So I think long way to go for Everton, but Martinez, if he was to achieve that, which is a realistic aim, it has to be said for Everton this season, they are strong, then that would be surprising that a manager could do it in a season after each other, but it's still a possibility.
Yeah, indeed, and Everton scored 4 goals at the weekend, first time since 1931 they've scored 4 times in the FA Cup in consecutive rounds. Doesn't really mean anything.
How far did they go in that year?
Oh dear me.
You can't start throwing stats out if you don't know how far they went. If they only got to the 5th round, who cares?
Sato will get him on the internet in a minute, might be able to find out for me. But they scored 4 goals without Romelu Lukaku, who's had a bit of a quiet spell. He's only got 1 in 9. Stephen Naismith came in and scored 2 very early on. That's obviously good, isn't it, for Roberto Martinez? It does mean Lukaku, we presume, will start the derby, but at least Naismith's going to have some confidence.
Yeah, it's a big decision for Martinez to make now, because like you say, Naismith is in form, he's scoring goals, and what do? Do you go with someone who's not in as much good form, but Naismith is? He's putting the ball in the back of the net, so it's going to be an interesting selection problem for Martinez. I think he may go with both. I think he may start Naismith out on the left-hand side with Morales in behind. I think he will go with Lukaku.
I'll get you to your team selections later, so don't spoil it
That's
too much.
That's fine. Okay.
Right in early doors here. So good for Everton. Liverpool huffed and puffed in the first half, but got through. As you say, doesn't really matter. Who stood out for you? Was Victor Moses? Did he impress?
I think Victor Moses, he's had a lot of stick, hasn't he? Because he hasn't done the business since he's been here on loan. He's disappointed a lot of people, myself included. I thought he'd do really well. An opportunity for him, and he hasn't taken it at all. And yesterday was another opportunity for him, and he did better. He certainly did better. He got a goal. You could perhaps look at the keeper, say he probably shouldn't be beaten like that, but he still got himself a goal and was influential for Liverpool out on that left-hand side. I don't think he's done enough to start the derby, and I'd be surprised if he did start the derby. But you know, players like Moses, they have to take the opportunities when they come, and he hasn't taken enough of those. But he did well yesterday.
Yeah, interesting that Liverpool's number 9 was again conspicuous by his absence. So the lad Aspas, he's not getting and looking anywhere, is he? But we won't go down that road.
We've discussed
Aspas. We've berated him far too much, haven't we? Daniel Sturridge, he's now got 10 goals in 14 FA Cup matches in his career. So it's obviously a competition he likes, and he just proved yesterday, didn't he, that give him a sniff and he's going to test the best keeper in the world.
Yeah, I think the pleasing thing for Liverpool fans and for Daniel Sturridge yesterday was the fact that he's starting to look match sharp again, isn't he? You know, he's starting to threaten in behind and look a real menace, a real goal threat, because obviously he was out for a number of weeks and he was missed in that Liverpool front line with Suarez. And we know with Suarez and Sturridge, they're understanding that they look for each other to create openings. And when you've got someone like Daniel Sturridge with the pace that he has to run in behind, it really is a worry for the defence. And Everton, with their defensive problems at the moment, that's going to be a concern for them. But that's a real bonus for Liverpool. Sturridge back, looking like he's on full form and hitting the back of the net as well.
Yeah, so you've started going down that road, so we may as well go down the road then of this big game.
It's a derby, let's go down it.
This big game Tuesday night. Probably not since March 2005 when both teams were vying for fourth spot. Probably not since then as a derby had quite so much riding on it.
Yeah, well, I think it's fair to say that Liverpool and Everton, along with probably Tottenham, are the main candidates for that fourth spot. You're looking at City and Chelsea, they're probably too far. Arsenal may drop a little bit and be involved with that fourth place race, but it looks like it is out of certainly Liverpool, Everton and Tottenham for that last place in the top four. So it's a huge, significant game. You know, it's there's a huge lot riding on it, so it's important that Liverpool don't slip up. Home form's been superb, only one defeat, and but Everton have been doing well as well. It's amazing because there's that many players who could play in the game, but obviously unfit or not fit for the game. So both sides won't be at full strength. No,
injuries is a massive problem, isn't it? Everton, of course, haven't won at Anfield since 1999. So history says they're not going to win. If you had to put a bet right now on a winner, would it be Liverpool?
I think you probably would go for Liverpool. It's only because of the attacking force that Liverpool have at the moment with Suarez and Sturridge. Coutinho's not been on great form, but with Suarez and Sturridge on the pitch, you look at Everton's firing line, and okay, Lukaku, you're saying there, he's not scored as many goals. Morales is probably Everton's best attacking player at the moment, so I think looking on balance of attacking players, I think Liverpool are slightly favourites. The fact that it is at Anfield and Everton don't have a great form there, but it's all about pride. You know, we probably won't see a spectacular game. We saw a 3-3 draw earlier on in the season.
Won't match that, will it?
I'd be surprised if it did. I think Liverpool will certainly play a different formation, played 4-3-3 at Goodison that day. Sturridge was on the bench. I expect Sturridge to start the game, and Liverpool probably to be a little bit more like the 4-4-2 we have seen in recent weeks, which has been a little bit of a problem, certainly against Aston Villa, because we haven't seen a lot of the ball, so it's important that the wide players in particular are cut inside. Coutinho, he's got to offer more support to the midfield area, and Sterling down the right-hand side, I expect him to play. He's got to be mindful of Baines, because Baines getting forward is a real attacking threat for Everton.
Yeah, Martinez, some quotes from Roberto Martinez before the game. He says, I think we're capable of going anywhere and beating any team. We need to be absolutely perfect though at Anfield because they've been formidable at home this season. He also says we're not going there looking for damage limitations, so he's going to play this style that Everton have shown all season. He's going to go and try and attack, just like they did at Old Trafford, just like they did at the Emirates, just like they did at Man City.
Yeah.
They've got, you know, a draw and a win and a loss from those 3 games, which is a decent return. So they're going to come and attack.
Yeah, well, we've seen in previous years where Everton have perhaps been playing the better football and favourites going into derby games, but have always seemed to struggle a little bit in those games. But I certainly think this year, Liverpool will be concerned because Everton are a decent side this season, and I think some of Everton's key players, we mentioned that they've got injuries, but they've got Barry, McCarthy and Morales. They're key players for Everton, and I think having those three players is significant for them. Yes, they've got injuries, perhaps Jagielka, then they will need him fit, certainly Suarez and Sturridge up there, because the last thing they need is for that partnership not to be there defensively. So a couple of issues, but Everton, they're still strong this season. We'll believe they can get a result.
Yeah, injuries, you mentioned now, we just run through the list of injuries for both sides. You got Joe Allen for Liverpool, who's got a knock. We're not sure if he's going to be fit for Tuesday night or not. Glenn Johnson, Lucas, Aga, Sacco, Enrique, Coates, and Flanagan, hopefully will play the game. Then for Everton, you've got Oviedo, who's obviously out. Jagielka and Distan, both doubtful. Coleman, unlikely. Pinar, doubtful. Barkley, doubtful. Delafeu, doubtful. Kone and Gibson, both long-term injuries. So, I mean, that's a massive list of players. 80% of whom would probably make the starting lineups for each side.
Yeah, they certainly would do. You mentioned there Flanagan. He was at the start of the season. You wouldn't have said that he was going to be a player you really want to see in the side, but he's proved Liverpool need him in the side for this game, the derby. He showed at Goodison Park. He has that local element to the side. He understands what it means to play in this derby game. So I'm hoping that he does play. I don't know if he'll play right back or left back. He did a great job at left back at Goodison. I'd prefer him in front of Sissoko, there's no question of that, at left back, but it's whether he plays him right back and maybe sticks with Sissoko, whether Brendan Rodgers plays Kelly right back or not. So he's got a bit of a dilemma there, but I think Flanagan, he came on against Bournemouth, he will certainly start the game, and that's a positive for Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? So let's get your team lineups up here. We've got a new bit of technology to help with this.
Right.
This is proper high-tech technology here. So as you give me your team here, I'll jot them down on this fantastic bit of a kit that we've.
Right, let's start, because Mignolet will go back in goal definitely for Liverpool.
Okay, yeah, right. Look at that. This is how high tech it is. Red and blue.
Good. I think Skirtle and Toure will be the.
Mig. No, Mig. I'll just put Mig there.
Is it better to go in initials maybe? Mignolet in goal. Skirtle and Toure will be the centre halves.
Cutter. Got that.
I think he'll go Flanagan left back and Kelly right back.
So you've got John Flanagan, Martin Kelly.
Yeah, I think Gerrard and Henderson will operate central roles. Gerrard being the deeper of the two.
SG and JH.
Yeah, Sterling down the right hand side, I think. Coutinho, who's not been playing as well as he has, I think he will start the game on the left.
Okay.
But be cutting inside, and then you've got Suarez and Sturridge up front. That's the way I think Liverpool will probably line up. But again, that's been dictated because of injuries. I'm not the manager, but I presume Brendan Rodgers will go with something similar to that. If players were fit, the likes of Lucas, I'd expect him to play. I think with Sturridge and Suarez as well, they did prefer the 3-5-2 formation where you had the three centre-halves, because them two could really operate, because we are a little bit light in those central areas. So Suarez has got to drop deeper. Coutinho's got to cut inside.
You think Suarez will be the player to do
that?
Well,
he'll get on the ball anyway.
But
Coutinho's got to help out in that central area as well, so that Barry and McCarthy don't get free access to the ball and able to dictate play from there. Liverpool will press high, but Coutinho, like he does, he's got to get involved a little bit more centrally, because Sterling will operate more wide.
Yeah, he's going to be staying out there, isn't he?
But then again, he could play Flanagan right, and he may go with Sissoko, who...
But you wouldn't. You wouldn't do that, would you?
No.
And to be honest with you, I don't think many Liverpool fans would either.
No. I think he's on limited time, Sissoko, with how long he's got left here at Liverpool.
I don't know, not been impressed with him at all. And what about this Gerrard role, this deeper lying role? Has he got to grips with that, do you think?
Well, it's a new position for him, but Steven Gerrard is a world-class player. He can play anywhere on the pitch because he's that good. He's proved that before. Right back, left back, just off the striker, central midfield. So, okay, he didn't have the best of starts against Aston Villa in the first half. Steven Gerrard can play just in front of that back four. There's no question of that at all. So I expect him to do a job just in front of there, because Henderson's energy, he will bomb all over the place. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was something close to what Liverpool will line up on Tuesday night.
And how will Everton match up then, do you think?
Well, I think...
so you've obviously got Howard in goal.
I think Howard will certainly start the game. Who's going to start centre-half? Jagielka, they're saying he's hamstring. I think he probably will be past fit. Jagielka will start the game. And then probably Stones next to him, whether Distan will be fit or not, I'm not sure. Baines will definitely start left back. And then it's out of Coleman, Hibbert.
It's difficult, isn't it? If Coleman's fit, he'll play.
I think we'll have to put Hibbert in there for the time being, because I don't think, no idea if Coleman will be fit. Barry and McCarthy will sit in front of the back four.
Yeah, so you've got Gareth, Barry,
McCarthy.
I
think McGeady will start on the right-hand side.
That'll be an interesting derby debut for him, won't it?
Yeah, I think if he's going to go attacking Martinez, he'll go Naismith on the left-hand side. You've got Osman as the option, who'll play more central. And then Morales will play in behind Lukaku, but Morales could play on the left-hand side as well, with Osman playing more central, so he can mix it up there a little bit.
Yeah.
But certainly Morales will play, and I think Lukaku will start up front. But it's whether Martinez is going to go more positive with Naismith starting, or whether he'll opt for Osman.
Yeah, so they're lining up 4-4-1-1, more or less?
Well, they'll say 4-2-3-1, but Morales does play very close to Lukaku. He's playing really well, Morales, and he's a player that Liverpool need to be mindful. And he operates in some spaces just in front of that back four, so that's where Steven Gerrard has got to be close to Morales. He doesn't just stay there; he'll be operating in this area, area as well.
He can go both ways, can't he? And Lukaku, he's sorry, I've given him a. There you go, L. He's a beast of a player. He's quick, he's strong, and that's the sort of thing that Aston Villa gave Liverpool's. These two centre backs gave problems with pace and power with Agbonlahor and Benteke. He's got both in the one package, hasn't he?
Yeah, of course. And he's still a young player as well. And he's going through a bit of a lean spell at the moment in front of goal, but he's a real presence up there, and he can really unsettle Liverpool's defence. And then you've got runners going off him, and it's up to Everton to make sure these players are brave enough to run past the Liverpool defence and give the support to Lukaku. But even though we're saying Everton have got injury troubles, that's still a strong lineup, and that lineup's more than capable of getting something at Anfield on Tuesday night.
Yeah, Ross Barkley's the biggest miss, isn't he? If he's hoping to be fit, he's hoping. I don't think the manager expects him to make it, but if he does make it, then that's a massive lift, because he really does add something different, and that probably means that Naismith won't play. No,
well, if he is fit, I'd be surprised if he does start the game, because he's been out a few weeks now, and big game to be throwing him into.
He had a great game at Goodison, didn't he, in the first derby?
Well, he's a very, very good player, yeah, and I won't be surprised to see him going on the plane for England. He's a real bright talent that's come through Everton's academy.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed that.
We could be totally wrong.
That high-tech demonstration of footballing tactics there. We're just going to finish off with a little quick-fire quiz for the resident expert here, and this is Derby quiz.
Okay.
This is the 222nd Merseyside Derby, as you know. How many of those have Liverpool won?
2-2-2 Derby, I will go for 146.
88.
188?
No, just 88.
Oh, just 88?
Yeah. 66 for Everton. 67 draws.
Okay.
You'd forgotten about draws, hadn't you?
I certainly did. I was being a bit optimistic, maybe.
How many consecutive seasons has the Merseyside Derby been played for?
In the Premier League?
In the league.
Okay, well, in the league. I will go for round about 60, because I did a quiz last season where who's been the team who's played consecutively in the top league the most, and it was Everton.
It was Everton, yeah.
And Arsenal was second. Because I think it's about, what did I say?
You said 60 then.
60.
Go a bit lower.
Okay. 56.
52. Not
52.
bad. Not bad. Who holds the record number of appearances for Everton in Merseyside derbies?
Are we going back really long now?
No, not too far. 20 years.
Graham Sharp?
Good effort. Neville Southall.
Okay, yeah, I should have probably got that one.
And for Liverpool?
Rush.
Record goal scorer in Merseyside derbies for Everton?
Dixie Dean,
19 goals. And for Liverpool?
Rush.
You said you were going to say rushed all these answers, didn't you? 25, yeah. How many red cards have there been in Merseyside derbies?
You say 222 games, I will go for 40.
40 is 26, actually. But interestingly, 20 of those have come since 1992 in the Premier League, which shows how referees have tightened up.
It makes me wonder as well, when we're going back to the first derby, did they actually record all those yellow and red cards, or those sort of...
Yes, don't know. We need a a better statistician than myself to answer that one, I'm afraid.
There was no Opta back then, was there?
No, there certainly wasn't. Opta came in 2006, I think,
Okay.
this week. 2 players have scored for both teams in Merseyside derbies. Who are they?
I think the obvious one would be Peter Beardsley.
Peter Beardsley, correct?
Thinking it could be Nicky Barmby, something like that, maybe.
No. David Johnson.
Okay.
David Johnson. Good player for both teams, Jono.
Yeah.
One player has won the FA Cup with both sides.
Yeah.
Gary Ablett.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah.
Gary Ablett.
Yeah.
And finally,
Great
how
man.
many goals were scored in the 1933 League Derby at Anfield? It is the highest number of goals ever scored in the Merseyside Derby. How many goals did they see on that special day?
Okay. Before I guess, can you tell me who won or whether it was a draw?
Liverpool won.
Okay, I will go for 6-3 to Liverpool.
6-3. It was 7-4.
7-4.
7-4. Not a bad guess that, mate. Yeah. And one final interesting point for you: Luis Suarez is yet to score in an Anfield derby. How about that? That's a record that will change.
Yeah, well,
So
we've seen that this
stake
season
my
already. He's
reputation
not scored
on that.
against this team, and then he goes and scores. So I'm sure Luis Suarez will want to put that right very
Indeed,
quickly.
Indeed. And did you know that every derby played in January since the beginning of the Premier League era has been a draw? And they've all been played at Anfield, and there's never been a sending off.
There we go. Such interesting stats. Thank you.
They don't call me Mr. Interesting for nothing. And just before we leave it, actually, just mentioned Tranmere yesterday. They've won a game, their first win of the year, first win in 5, and it came a goal from an on-loan defender, Matthew Pennington, on loan for Everton.
First senior goal. We said that in last week's show it was a huge game for Tranmere because they're playing against a side just below them in the table. It was an important 3 points, and they got those 3 points. So a game tomorrow, Tuesday against Rotherham at home, and they need to make full use of the home form. I said Cassidy signed, he didn't score, but I was told he was a positive impact for Tranmere. So hopefully they can go on a good run. But that was a big 3 points for them.
Yeah, they're up to 17th now, Tranmere, so they've put a little bit of distance between themselves and the other teams in the drop zone. Oldham, unfortunately, the team just above Tranmere. You were at that astonishing Oldham-Peterborough game at the weekend.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And, like you said, I do a little bit of Soccer Saturday stuff with Sky Sports, and I get to see a lot of different sides, and it was an absolutely brilliant game. Oldham were 3-0 down, and you're thinking it could be, this was at half-time, it could be 5 or 6. There was fans thinking about leaving, saying this is embarrassing, and then they turn it round and they scored with the last kick of the game, 5-4, and I was leaving the ground, and it was great to see the joy, the buzz it gave all the fans jumping up and down. It was like a real, I suppose, what football should be about, the emotions up and down, and it was a fantastic comeback.
Fantastic. Well, I can guarantee you there will be a lot of emotions and a lot of jumping up and down at Anfield on Tuesday night. I hope everyone has a safe time if they're going, and if they're not going, watch it on TV. Hope you enjoy it. We'll be back next week, of course. Hope you have a wonderful week from me and from Neil. Bye-bye.